We are online.
It's okay, Leona?
We are live.
Okay, so I can stop
Hello,
to share
everyone.
I can stop to share my Okay, people start to arrive.
Yes.
So Aliona, if you can try to contact Tony to help him for this.
Yes, I'm doing this.
Thank you.
But people are not in yet, or yes?
Sorry?
Yes. We have people.
Yes, I don't know if you can see, but we can. You can.
No.
Okay, we can. I can. So good evening, everyone. Sorry for being late, but you know, it's like Rockstar. We have to wait them a bit. It's more exciting. So we have some connecting problem with Tony. So we will try to help him. We have someone helping him. So I hope he will be able to join us as soon as possible. So just for information, you can follow this discussion on Zoom, and it's on live stream on our ICC Facebook page. So do not hesitate to join it and to share with your friends. This idea of comparison of the standards, it's has been done because we have this FCI standard, Kennel Club standard, American standard, and Australian standard. The Australian standard is very similar to the English one. And the idea was to have a comparison and a free and friendly, smooth discussion. The goal is not to say which standard is more correct or not. The goal is to see that finally we are all speaking and describing the same breed. And what I have done, I did a comparison of some specific points of the standards, and I send it to our 4 iconic guests tonight. I will give them the possibility to introduce themselves just after that. And the idea is to speak about these different points and to exchange and to have their experience, what they have learned, what they have understand, how they see, and how they can describe these specific points. So thank you very much, Francesco, Joao, Allison, and Tony. I hope Tony will arrive soon to accept this invitation. It's a very, 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 very big honor for me to have you. It's like a kid dream to have such personalities for this interesting and important topic. So thank you very much, because I contacted you once and I got immediately 4 positive answers. So it means a lot for me. So thank you very much. And just to say a few words about the International Chihuahua Club, is a very fresh and new project. We are just at the beginning. And as you can imagine, when we start to create something, it cannot be wow and big immediately. We need to do it step by step. So for a very first year, I'm quite happy about everything we did. And I hope it's just the beginning of a big future. And it's not official, but I profit to tell it now to everyone. Next year, we will have the World Dog Show in Geneva. And the day before, we will have the first International Chihuahua Club Specialty Show. So save the date. It will be the 26th of August, 2023. And the day after, it will be the World Dog Show at the same place. So more official information will be be written and shared later. So I will ask Allison, please, to introduce you briefly and to tell us a few words about your involvement in the Chihuahua breed. And once again, sorry for my English. I do some mistakes, but I try to do my best.
Thanks, Joe. No, your English is perfect. Thank you very much. And thank you for inviting me and for organising all of this. I know it's been a little bit stressful this morning, but you've done a fantastic job and I'm very pleased to be involved. So my prefix is Reynosa, which is, for most of you will know, as a name in Mexico. And I actually managed to find that from the map in the National Geographic book when I was a child. So they used to have a map in there, and then I went through all of the names in Mexico, and that's how I found the name. I just liked it. So, and anyway, so I wanted a Chihuahua from when I was a very small child. They only came into Australia in the mid-50s, and I was born sort of around then. And so I had to wait until 1971 and to get my very first Chihuahua, and I badgered my parents for probably 10 years before that to have that, but they were farmers and it wasn't really a thing to have a Chihuahua around. But anyway, then I had my first litter. I was still only a teenager when I had my first litter in 1976 and started showing in later in 1976. So I've been involved in the local Chihuahua club for all that time, and was president for about 25 years on and off, and on the committee for a lot longer than that. And I've had my toy group judging license. It's the only group that I have. I'm not really interested in doing other groups, just love doing really my Chihuahuas and some of the toys, or most of the toys. But I've been very lucky to be invited to judge. Probably the most prestigious one was the Swedish Chihuahua Club National, and that was just fantastic. I judged over there a few years ago with a huge entry over 2 days. And I've been to Estonia, South Wales in UK twice. So I've judged the longcoats there, which was fantastic as well, seeing hundreds of longcoat Chihuahuas. I've actually judged in Bangkok, Singapore at a toy show. Auckland in New Zealand, I was invited to the 50th anniversary, which was fantastic. I've been to South Africa and judged many in Australia here. So that's just a little bit about my background. Thanks.
Thank you so much. We have lost Francesco's video. Francesco, do you hear me? Can you? Okay, thank you. So thank you again, Allison, for this introduction. I will ask Francesco, please, to introduce yourself, your kennel name, how you start to be involved with the breed, and maybe some important show.
Yeah. Well, my name is Francesco Cochetti. My kennel name is di San Gimignano, and San Gimignano is a very nice town in Tuscany, medieval town, and from this town came my kennel name. I started with Chihuahua because of my wife, Tuula Lehtinen. She's from Finland, and I have to say that I didn't really like the breed until I met her, and I was in contact with this breed. I discovered this big personality, and especially they are, in my opinion, the most important characteristic of the breed. They are very sensitive. I born in a dog family. My parents were breeders of poodles, so I grown up with poodles, and I thought a poodle could have been my breed for all my life, but I was wrong. So in 1996, I had my first litter registered with my prefix. From this first litter, born a world winner dog. So I was really very lucky. Of course, the female was bred by my wife, And the male, the father of this male that was award winner, was bred in England by Carol Davis Dashidas. I'm a president of Rome Kennel Club. We organize a quite big double international show, usually in November. I'm a member of the show commission in the Italian Kennel Club, and I represent Italy at the FCI in the Judges Commission. And of course, I'm involved with the International Chihuahua Club. It was the idea of Joao many years ago, and then he pushed me to be the chairman of this club. And as Joao said, we are trying to share our passion with all of you. And for this reason, I ask you to push your own Chihuahua club, because the more we are, and better things we can do. I think we must work all together because the common thing for all of us is the passion for this breed. I have judged all over the world, I think in 60 different countries. I have judged Chihuahuas at the World Dog shows, European shows. I have judged the Chihuahua National in Australia many years ago. I have judged a national in Sweden, in Finland, and in England. I do the British Chihuahua Club. And I will have the honor to judge the Chihuahua next March at Crafts. I think I have said even too much. So I think it's now time of Joao to say something about himself.
Yes, thank you so much, Francesco. And yes, Joao, as Francesco said, it's your turn. So if you can introduce yourself.
All right, thank you so much. Can you hear me well?
Yes, perfectly.
Good. For me, it's more than an honor to be, in this panel. It's like you, Joey. I've seen we all have seen all these big names in the breed, and we have followed them, what they do, and they are all big references for all of us. So for me, I've been keeping asking myself, who am I to be in this group today? But I really appreciate the honor to be here. So my name is Joao Machado. I'm originally from Brazil, and been involved with purebred dogs for 27 years. Probably I started with 3 years old, and I've been approved for as an FCI judge since 2009, and I'm approved for the herding group, the terrier group, and the companion group, the toy group, right? The group 9. I've been involved with Chihuahuas for now about 9 years. I'm still new in the breed, but it's like Francesco said, it's a passion, and I really, went, deeper on it, and get involved with the local with the local breed club, the Houston Chihuahua Club, the city where I live today. And I've been, president for many terms. I'm also the AKC delegate for the Chihuahua Club of America, where I have represent the club before AKC. And I would say recently, within this last 2 years, I was appointed by the board to be the judge education chair for the Chihuahua Club of America. Together with our team, creating opportunities for aspiring judges in Chihuahuas to learn more, to learn how to judge them, to learn how to understand, the AKC standard for the breed. And it's been a wonderful journey. We have done this in Orlando, the big Royal Canin show, and of course, during our nationals. The involvement, like I said, around 9 years with this breed has took me to many places, and where they consider me as a specialist in the breed, and I'm so grateful for that. So I have had the honor to judge Chihuahuas in Sweden, in Brazil, of course, Japan, Australia, USA, Canada. And I would say the hallmark of those opportunities would be I was invited to judge the regional of the Chihuahua Club of America in 2018, and I've been voted to judge the Chihuahua National next year, where it's going to be the centennial of the club. So the club will be celebrating their 100th anniversary, and I have this very special honor judging the national for the Chihuahua Club of America next year. So that's it.
Thank you so
Back
much.
to you.
So as you can see, we have people very involved into the breed, into judging. I try to be in contact with my friend to know about Tony, but it seems that he has a very big problem to join us, and like a security account problem. I don't know. So if we can have him, I will, at the moment he will be with us, I will stop the discussion and let him introduce himself. But unfortunately for him, we have to go ahead. I am very, very sad, and I'm very sorry for every people waiting him. But we have someone from the ICC who is helping him and try to have him as soon as possible. So sorry for that, and thank you again so much, Joao, Allison, and Francesco, for this introduction. So I will post. We will start this comparison now. So just to show you, but I will post the document later for our viewer. I did a comparison like that with the FCI standard, Kennel Club, AKC, and the Australian one. And the idea was to check what is common and what is not similar in all this standards. I simply start with the pictures that are used as an illustration for the standard. And I have immediately seen that some words and some points are exactly the same. Some words to describe a part of the body are exactly similar, and some other points are very different, or some parts are missed in one standard and some parts are more developed, more explained in another standard. So we won't speak about everything because it will be one night live. So just to tell you, today we will spoke about the terrier-like. Sorry, for me it's difficult to say terrier-like attitude. It's something that it's explained in the American standard, but we have no words about that in the other ones. We spoke about the Molera because again, it's not the same in every standard, and even if it's mentioned, I would like to know how we can introduce the Molera topic for a young or new judge. We will spoke about substance, especially the description of the belly. We will spoke about the tails. We will spoke about the muzzle and this famous word that is written 3 times in all standards, the words lean lips, lean cheeks, and we will spoke about muzzle. We will briefly spoke about dentition, front assembly, and we will finish with the coat and the possible or not possible grooming for the Chihuahua. So as I said, for me, I really see it as a discussion. It's not, there is no correct or wrong answer. There is no correct or wrong standard. For me, it's an open discussion, friendly discussion. I have prepared a question for each one of you, but of course, everyone is free to interact and to bring his opinion, his experience, etc. So the first point I would like to speak, it's the terrier-like attitude. In the AKC American Standard, they write about this terrier-like attitude, they explain it, and it's an important part of the temperament of the breed, and it's something that is not written in the other ones. And I would like to know, Joao, because it's in the American Standard, is the terrier-like attitude something important? Is it an important feature you take in consideration when judging? And can you tell us a few words about sparing? I don't know if I pronounce it correctly. I know it's very common in terrier to spare them. Maybe you can explain, because some people are not used to this method. And what are you expecting in a Chihuahua with these words, terrier-like?
Okay. All right. Thank you. Yes, this is a very big topic. And in fact, I really like that the AKC standard has mentioned the expression, terrier-like, qualities of temperament, because that will bring, I would say, the package. They should be alert. They should be, self-important. They should be confident, self-reliant, and it's pretty much what we expect to see Chihuahuas. Chihuahuas should approach others, other dogs and people with confidence and interest, right? Without, any, evidence of shyness or fright, and that's something that describing as a terrier temperament, we see this more in terrier dogs, right? And that's very important, and judges are encouraged by the parent club in US to also include temperament as one of the main parts of evaluating a Chihuahua, and it has a very big weight on assessing, the breeding stock in front of that judge. And so the true temperament is judged more, is more accurately observed for the terrier, like when this dog is interacting in a ring with other dogs. There is a video that we show in our seminars that we have a Chihuahua. I mean, it's beautiful when you have a Chihuahua that can stack like a Doberman looking at you and, very mesmerized, but it's also interesting to see them, interested of what's going on around them, noises, smelling, other dogs. And those, if the judges are encouraged to see that not as a lack of training, but part of this package of what the terrier-like qualities of temperament has in there. So the best, one of the techniques to evaluate that is then sparring. And then we ask dogs, we get 2-3 dogs, to go around and meet in the center so they can face each other. And it doesn't mean actual fight, it's not it's just to see the dogs nose to nose, exhibiting, the very alert, challenging posture typical of terriers. It's pretty much that. And then you will see, those dogs, they will get closer to each other when they face off each other. It's beautiful to see. It's good to mention that sparring, not even in terriers, it's no longer allowed, right, on FCI, but it's a very common practice for the American Kennel Club's standards for terriers. And we, as from the parent club standpoint, we encourage judges to spar Chihuahuas. I came from a dog show this past weekend, and during winner's dog competition, the judge put those dogs from the class winners to spar, and he placed, I mean, they were very, I would say, in quality, they were pretty much the same, very, similar in quality. And the one that displayed more of that temperament, that was interested, that approached the other dogs with confidence, was the one that the judge pointed as best of winners. So It's
But
very
sorry
important, yes.
Sorry to interrupt you, but
Yes.
don't you see it as it could be the beginning of a big not fight because they are Chihuahua, but the beginning of aggressivity into the ring?
Yeah, but can I also add that for FCI it is forbidden?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, he mentioned it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Even with
So-
terriers, it's forbidden for
Yeah.
right when
So,
they're not allowed.
So you do not feel that sometimes you just open the door of aggressivity to let them?
I would say that younger dogs would probably display that since they are still, I mean, learning their ways, right? And but it's so beautiful to see, you know, when dogs that would spar, you know, I would say correctly, you can have a loose leash because they are not there to fight. They are just there to show off, right? They are just there to show that confidence, you know, the tail up, the ears up, you know, they even put themselves, you know, and stack in a way that you can see so many things other than also the temperament.
And
So, but yes, you have to be careful. And also when judging, you have to look if you feel that let's say the person handling the dog, if it's an unexperienced person. So what you do, usually I don't get so many younger, I would say puppies from the 6 to 9 months class, you know, just older. You do the sparring is doing per sex. You never mix sex, right? So we do with dogs, we do with bitches. You can do with both varieties of Chihuahua, both at least here where it's allowed, they would behave. But yes, we have seen some of the, especially in young dogs, that they would try to go and jump. And I have one in the beginning that used to do that too and bark. But it's not, they're not supposed to even to touch each other. It's just to look.
Just look, yeah.
And
does the owner has the possibility to say no if he doesn't feel his dog?
yes, and
Yes.
that's possible. You know,
Okay.
that's not something that is an obligation, right? It's but we encourage, you know, also our Chihuahua owners to, it's not to spar but to socialize their dogs, you know, because like I said, it's the Chihuahua should approach other people and dogs with confidence. So that's pretty much what we need to see while sparring Chihuahuas or assessing temperament qualities, you know.
Thank you.
But it's better anyway to underline, as Joao said, that this terrier-like is more connected with temperament, because there is nothing to do with terriers.
Yes.
If you think about, for example, front and rear angulation, terrier are much more straight in front, so nothing to do with general appearance. It can be related, of course, when you correctly said that the breed has to be Chihuahua has to be alert. That I agree totally, but it's good to say that then there is nothing. Or another thing that now came in my mind also, they must use the ears, which is also something important when you are judging terriers, so that they use correctly the ears if you call their attention.
Yes.
But and of course, I think as toys, for me, it's very important, the temperament. So a Chihuahua, which is lack in temperament, has to be downgrade, can be graded with excellent, I mean. And this is something also important, because we have some problems, I think, especially probably more in Europe than in America.
Problems with the temperament?
With temperament, with soft temperament. And this is something that we should penalize. I think that we have always to check the status of the breed, and then as a judges, to try to be more strong or more hard in penalizing these problems. I mean, for example, temperament. For example, we have now, for me, in Europe, I can see that the biggest problem in this moment, in my opinion, are fronts. You don't see any really clear and good front movement. And this is what we should put our attention as a judges and as a breeders. So, but yes, I think this terrier-like is a nice word to use, but we have to remember that they have nothing to do with general appearance, with the terrier general appearance, because it is totally different.
Well, the Australian and the UK standard uses spirited and saucy expression. So so they and I see the terrier-like to me is right up on their toes and looking for attention. And I have actually asked two dogs to face each other, but that's about it, just to at a distance. I've asked them in the ring, and sometimes it really just gives that last little finish to make a decision on some dogs, because they have that spirited in the Australian and the UK standards. So that's good. But the saucy expression, they can't have a saucy expression if they're not happy. It's the whole body. It's the whole body. I tell people the saucy expression is not just the head, it's the whole body, and they can't be saucy if they haven't got that little sort of terrier-like attitude.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because what you said, Allison, because I read an article from one of our judges from the Chihuahua Club of America, Mr. Dick Miller, and then he says that the saucy expression, like you said, it's pretty much a body language, right? It's the combination of all those aspects, the round eyes, the ears, the position of the ears and everything, but it's a body language that will promote that.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone, for your words. Now we will go to a big and important topic for the breed, and sometimes a bit delicate, especially when young FCI Chihuahua judge are learning the breed. It's the Molera, Fontanelle. I don't know how you call it in your country.
Molera.
Yeah. See, the Kennel Club and the Australian Standard, they do not mention it. The American one mentioned that the skull could be with or without Molera. And the FCI added it in 2009 or 2009 as a disqualifying fault. Dancing. Hello, Tony.
Hello, how are you?
I'm so happy we finally have you. Sorry. I hope everything is okay for you. Do you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, we hear you.
Maybe they lost the picture, have you now?
We see you. So we see you.
We see you. Is perfect, Tony.
Yeah.
I can't see you, but never mind. I don't worry about that.
Okay. So, Tony, we just did the a short introduction one by one to introduce himself, kennel name, how we get involved with the breed, and where we have judged. So if it's okay for you, if you are ready, maybe you can say a few words about you, who you are, how you have started with the Chihuahua, and yeah.
Okay, whenever you're ready, I'll go now. Okay. Good evening. I'm Tony, and I've been involved with a number of toy breeds, and I came to the Chihuahua breed relatively late in my showing career. But I suppose my famous breed would be Japanese Chins. and the Sleepy Hollow affix in the UK is very well known for Japanese chins, which of course is a very, very popular breed in the UK. Not quite the numbers that Chihuahuas get, but certainly you know, it is averaging 50 or 60 Japanese chins a show. But I gravitate to Chihuahuas because I've always loved them, and my aunt had them, and was very lucky in a sense that I bought some nice stock and used my own method for breeding, and obviously with regards to the Japanese, with regards to the Chihuahua standard, there were certain things that for me were very, very important. And I paid great attention to those details when I bred. And obviously, this is the magic thing about judging and indeed breeding, because people obviously have different emphasis on what they particularly like in a Chihuahua and breed for that. I certainly have always tried to breed for health, and that has been important. I was one of the great supporters in the UK for long coat and smooth coat to appear in the same pedigree until only a few years ago. That could not happen. Yet breeders could import dogs from long coat, smooth coat mating, and they could be embedded into their pedigree. But the Kennel Club, and I shouldn't say this as chairman, but for whatever reason, decided to consult clubs many years ago, and the clubs, Chihuahua clubs of the UK, were not happy with it. But then there was a change of heart. Obviously, I think seeing the quality coming from FCI countries and abroad, where there has been long coat and smooth coat mating, people felt that the gene pool would be wider. There's some excellent specimens, and the breed clubs themselves supported the move. So ultimately, the Kennel Club board had the support of all the breed clubs. So it was very quickly that now breeders in the UK can do that. And I think that's, in a sense, been a great help for breeders going forward. But certainly in my day, other than importing, and I did import from a few famous kennels, I imported for specific reasons, and obviously that's where I started. So yes, I judge a lot of Chihuahuas. People like my opinion for Chihuahuas, but I haven't had hundreds of years in Chihuahuas, and you know, I have a view, very, you know, a very strong view, that it's not about the time, it's about what you've done in the time that matters. There are people I know that have bred for many, many, many years and still have never managed to achieve by producing anything that's actually been a particular winner. And I was lucky that certainly El La Quinta kennel at its best, he allowed me to have a smooth coat bitch, which she was a phenomenal bitch. So in a way, I did breed, and I bred a champion. I bred three champions UK, but I was able to show a very beautiful Chihuahua, and you know, that's my bit in the Chihuahua breed.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm so happy you finally managed to join us, and thank you, Aliona, for helping him. So we already spoke about the temperament and the attitude of the Chihuahua. Now we will spoke about the Molera, because, as I said, it's an important and sensitive topic. It's not mentioned in the UK and Australian standard. It's just mentioned as they could be with or without Molera in the American standard. But in the FCI standard, it's a disqualifying fault. So Francesco, I would like to ask you, how will you teach it and explain it to a young judge sharing his first contact with the breed in your ring?
Well, it is a difficult answer, because of course we have to judge in according with the standard. So as FCI judges, when we are judging in FCI countries, we can't forget what is written in the standard. But I would like to remind the history of this breed. Chihuahua, the characteristic of this breed was since they started the Molera, so this dog with Molera. And then it was decided in one night to change the standard and to say that a Chihuahua with Molera is a disqualifying fault. But I think we all have to use the good sense when we are judging dogs, because standard is not the Bible, and of course standard is the guide. But if we use the good sense, we can say a couple of things which are important. First of all, we can't evaluate Molera when in a puppy or in a young dog, because the head of the Chihuahua can develop, can really finish when they are almost 2 years. So it means that this Molera can be closed later. So I think as a judges, we should not care too much about the Molera when we are judging puppies, when we are judging dogs that are in junior class, so the young dogs. And when we judge adult, then okay, we don't have to push like crazy the skull of the Chihuahua to really find. We can pass our finger on the skull, and if we really see a big hole, then of course that is this a big Molera, and then in that case we had to disqualify if we are judging. In according with the FCI standard. But I think we can tolerate a big, small Molera of 2 millimeters, because I can say with my experience that maybe the really beautiful heads in the breed have this little bit small Molera. So again, I want to say we have to use our good sense. I think that probably I would have liked to see in the new standard to mention that Molera is allowed until, and put some measurement to say until how many millimeters we can tolerate the Molera. But because it's like when we started with same things now when we were dog tails, and then we are criticizing dogs that are the anterior tail, but it is not possible to select from in 2 days the tail, because if the tail has been docked for many years, of course there was no selection, nobody were caring about tails, and that should have been, in my opinion, also what we could have done when a standard has been changed. Say at least that is a little bit a small Molera until, I don't know, 0.5 can still be tolerated if the dog has qualities. But okay, so but we can't be really strong regarding puppies and junior, because my dear guests and colleagues, when we check the Molera in a puppy or in a junior, we are doing, and we are disqualifying puppy or junior dog, we are really doing some big mistake, because head, finish when the dog is 18 months, 24 months. The Chihuahua head is the last thing to finish. So be careful when we evaluate Molera in a young dogs. And okay, I have to say that I more agree with the American Chihuahua standard in what they say, with or without. Of course, a big Molera, and I think sometimes you can find also problem on the side.
Mhm.
Of the skull.
Sometimes they have more than one.
That is, I agree totally. But you can see when they have water in the head, because also the eyes are showing a lot of white. They are how you say in English, one eye is in one side and the other in the other. Then you can understand if there is a big problem. But even if you speak with specialists, with vets, small morella doesn't affect any dog. It is not any problem. There is not any problem in a dog. In a good head, maybe is also protecting the dog. So, but of course, we have to judge in according with the breed standard. So, but good sense is always what we have to do when we are judging dogs. And we are not judging a dog piece by piece, but we are judging in the whole dog. So never do the mistake to go piece by piece, because then to put again the pieces all together can be really difficult.
Thank you, Francesco. Joao, I want to hear you about Molera in your country. How is it as a judge? Is it something you focus a lot, or?
We first of all, I really appreciate everything that Francesco has said. I think this is the way to go for this breed. I think that being so hard on that, especially like he said, in puppies and junior dogs, for some reason has made a lot of people change their breeding programs totally, and losing some of the dome head to more of a plain heads. And that's a very interesting and important point of view. Yes, so for the AKC standard of the Chihuahua, it is interesting that the Molera was actually required in the original standard of 1923, and it was a feature of the breed. So it was something that would show the purity of the breed, right? So the Chihuahua, to be pure, had to have the Molera, right? But here the Molera is acceptable, unlike most of the other toy breeds, and should not be a concern for the judges. There's no consequence. There's no need even for the judges to feel it, because it's better to feel for the rounded school instead of looking for the Molera. And one thing that I just would like to mention is that, because I have witnessed that some heavy-handed, would say colleagues, that sometimes, when assessing the Molera, you can, depending on how you go there, you can hurt a dog. So the recommendation is to be careful, right, on the evaluation of the Molera, how we would touch that area. Because, we also show our dogs, and sometimes it's very difficult for these little ones to forget a really bad experience. So those would be a recommendation to be careful while evaluating that. But on our perspective in America, the presence or no, the Molera, it's not a problem and should never be a concern for a judge. Even foreign judges coming to judge in USA, when they are approved to judge AKC shows, they have to abide of the American Kennel Club standards when judging in US, and they should not look for Molera. They should not be a concern at all in any dog in any age.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't know if Allison or Tony, you would like to add something about Molera. Decide.
Yes, we don't have it at all, which is, I think, good. But it is actually annoying when we get FCI judges hunting for it, which is a bit hard. We had FCI judges last weekend hunting for them on babies, and it's, you know, first time out, and it's just really difficult. So I like the idea that we can manage it and either have it or not. The old standard, the UK and the Australian standard used to say with or without, and then they just completely wiped it. So that was good in one way. So we can manage it ourselves. Yes, and I agree. We should watch for it, because you can, when you're judging, you can often see if a dog has a big one. But again, it's only a very light touch if you need to feel it, and yeah, and it's obvious if they do have head problems when they're overdone, or have the hydrocephalus or something like that. So yeah, I agree with everybody's ideas. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, Joe, if I may just say something here. It's interesting that if we look, for example, at the Pomeranian breed in the UK, they consider it quite a serious fault, and in fact it's on the breed watch, so that if it's found, it should be reported by the judge. But they are so concerned, as my colleagues have said, about judges sort of hunting for this and poking their thumb and fingers in places where they shouldn't. So and it's easy accessible. The Pomeranian Club of the UK have produced a video to show judges how, if they want to actually look for this, how to do it correctly and properly and kindly and things, because it is in fact on their breed watch. I think, you know, I do believe that we have to be serious about health issues with our dogs, especially as we're dealing with other kennel clubs that are having frightful things applied to them. And there are, you know, let's face it, there are a lot of haters out there that don't like pedigree dogs and actually don't like our own shows. So we do have to tread very carefully. And I think one good thing about this is that, as my colleague has just said, that basically we can manage it, and breeders are managing it. And I believe that, you know, that there are discerning breeders that understand the situation. With a head shape like that, it's going to happen. With the history, it's going to happen. We've already heard about the standards being, you know, it was almost, you know, it was part of it years ago. So you can't wipe these things out in one generation, and often can't wipe them out in 2 or 3. And very fortunately, to the outside world, they might see slipping patellas and tongues and panting and things that they'll home in on. But obviously, those that are actually wanting to pick holes in pedigree dogs, perhaps fortunately don't know enough about the issue that this breed has, and we manage it.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your comments and words, everyone.
Joe,
Yes.
check also the questions, because
Yeah.
they are also interesting questions, and I think we can also answer them.
Yes, but maybe we can have a look at the question at the end.
And yes.
Okay. So the next topic is the substance in the Chihuahua. I wrote substance, but we will speak about the belly. The FCI is the only one to mention an underline formed by a clearly tuck-up belly. So they are not whippets, but in the FCI they mention that this underline must be seen. I remember I already read, especially English critics, about substance and bones substance. And I would like to hear you about that, how you understand this this overall Chihuahua silhouette. And I will ask Allison, how do you see the Chihuahua silhouette concerning this point, especially if we have to focus just a bit about the tuck-up belly? Must the body for you be well filled like a small tree trunk? I don't know if it's correct in English. Or do you understand the Chihuahua silhouette more fit with this slightly tuck-up underline?
Okay. Well, my idea about this, and as you said, we don't have this in our standard at all. We don't have it clearly defined. But to me, when thinking about it, you need to take into consideration the whole body in the first place. So our standards and most of the standards ask for a well-rounded body, but not being barrel ribbed. So being barrel ribbed completely for me takes the shape out of the whole body. So, and you don't usually get the little bit of tapering when looking from the top. So if you've got barrel ribs, I think it's very difficult to get the tuck up. So you need this just nice sort of pear-shaped body through the ribs, nice deep chest, and just a slight tuck up. So you don't want it like an Italian greyhound or anything, but you still just need that bit of defining underneath. And of course, it's hard to see in the long coats because of the coat, but it's just so lovely to see in the smooth coats. And also, I think it shows sort of the fitness of the dog as well, I think, too. If they've got a bit of a tuck up and well muscled in the body, they seem to be not as well muscled if they have this complete barrel and look like a pipe. I think, yeah. So the standards are interesting too, that some of them are slightly different in the length of the body. The UK and the Australian one actually calls for a body probably to be slightly longer than the ones in the FCI standard and the American standard, because it measures the body from the point of shoulder to the base of the tail, which is the rear of the croup, whereas the AKC standard asks to the rear point of the buttock. So it's quite different. But again, you don't want this long, if you've got the longer body, they sometimes look a bit more cut up. And yeah, I just think they need a compact body and then a slight cut up, not like a pipe and not like an Italian greyhound. That's really about all I can say.
Okay, because when I have started with my Chihuahua, I remember many breeders I have met that have told me that the Chihuahua must be full of substance in the body, like you do not want them too fit, you prefer them not fat, but well
solid.
filled.
You want them solid, that's right, yeah.
Does someone want to say a few words about that?
Yes, I want to say something. Okay, clearly tuck up for me is too much, because I think clearly they could take away. It is really too much, but I like substance, but I like substance to see when the Chihuahua is 2 years, not before, because what I have seen sometimes, or many times, they are really ready too early, and then when they are 2 or 3 years, they look like over chest, like a bull terrier, big for chest. So I think the Chihuahua, because it's a small breed, has to have its time to grow up. So usually when you see a dog of 9 months that is totally ready and looks like a dog of 2-3 years, when this dog will be 2 years, he will be totally overdone. They come with bully front, heavy front, and that is what I don't like to see. Bone has to be there. It's a small breed, but we have to see bone. I think this is much more easy to see in European dogs than in American dogs, because sometimes I find more more American dogs that are really light in bone, some of their dogs. But in the other hand, I repeat again, I see also these overdone dogs that are really something totally wrong. It's a toy breed. It's a toy breed, and we have to keep elegance also in this breed. And
exactly.
And what I want to say again, that for example, standard doesn't mention any measurement between shoulder and elbow to the ground, and this measure is 50-50. So I hate myself, I hate to see these short legs dogs, because also in this case we lose the elegance, the nice, and also we lose movement, because with short legs they will not have any reach and drive when they move.
You know, there is a word that I don't know how to translate correctly in French or in Italian, but in the British Standard and the Australian, the first three words: small, that means already a lot. Dainty.
Yeah, dainty and compact.
Yeah, and compact. And dainty, if I understand it well, if I translate it properly, it means like precious, like raffiné, like it's not something you can give to a dog who is overdone or very too much. So
you don't want any coarseness in the breed. That's right.
Exactly.
And no thickness in the body, and you just need that lovely sort of tailored body on them. I agree, you know, with quite a few of them, and that's, you know, the whole heaviness comes through, and it comes through in the head and everything now. And I agree with Francesco about the length of leg. It would be good. That would be something we really need in the standard to say the length of the body, length of the legs in comparison to the overall height would help to guide some people, because yes, there's too many of them getting with short legs these days, and they just look really chunky and unbalanced to me. Yeah, I agree.
And about substance, bones, we can spoke about the weight. I would like to ask Tony, we know that the question about the weight in the Chihuahua is important, but how to be loyal and fair when judging, especially if you have a doubt? I know that here we have some judges that start to check the weight on every dog. Some people, I have seen some judges just taking them like that, but it's just an evaluation. And we know that sometimes we have small dogs that could be very heavy because they have a different kind of bones. How to be fair and loyal about the weight when you judge, and especially if you have a doubt?
Yes, so it isn't easy without weighing. Simple as that. The Chihuahua, in a sense, is a small dog, and I actually believe that one of the beauties, whether we like it or whether we don't, is that judges will have their own ideas, as we've heard today. They will have their own influence, and they will have their own particular issues. And some judges, quite frankly, will not worry about the size, whether they're very small or very large, because in fact that doesn't feature high up into their into their assessment. I think we have to understand that what we'll probably all like slight differences, and we'll always put emphasis on what we ultimately like. The standards are there, and interestingly, as we all know, we're very close in the standards that you circulated. There's the odd word and the odd emphasis here, there, and everywhere, but generally there's a consensus, a consistency throughout the world on Chihuahuas. And you know, generally speaking, in toy dogs, the all round all-round judges that I know will actually always, and it's not correct this, but would I've heard them quote that, you know, if they're rather larger, they're sounder. Well, I don't actually subscribe to that at all. But unless you actually want to bring something in like weighing, which I don't think you know, is necessary in any way, shape, or form, it has to be always down to the perception and the evaluation of the judge, whether we like it or whether we don't. I've seen, and I'm sure the panel on this evening that are very, very experienced will have seen very beautiful dogs, and the only thing that they would really like about the dog that it would be a third of the size smaller. But it's been actually rewarded because of the other qualities, the movement, the shape, the tuck up we've talked about, the head, the eye, and all of the other things. And the weight and the size is just another thing. So from my own perspective, whilst I do believe that I won't subscribe to large Chihuahuas, you know, maybe in some of these breeds, like the toy breeds, as we talk about Pomeranian, they're quite happy for the dogs to be small, but actually accept larger bitches for a health reason because of breeding. So there's another dynamic on the issue of size. But I was very interested to hear the panel's take on it, and I don't think the only way you can really get a concrete evidence about size away from perception would be to have scales or indeed a tape measure, and I'm sure we don't want that.
Mm-hmm. Does someone want to add something about Joao?
Yes, this is a very interesting topic and a very hot one in America, and especially because we had a great experience this year in our national, because both judges for the regional and the national shows, they had the scale, you know, next to the table. So they were, you know, they went over the table exam, and they would and then they pick some dogs for to weight.
Just some. So they decide which one they want to check.
Which ones? And usually the instruction is it seems there is something that they cannot do the entire entry, but those that they want to use, you know, and that's if they, you know, like the dog but they have a question about it, they will weight that dog, and that's what happened. Not the entire entry.
And excuse me to interrupt. People, how do the exhibitor how they have welcomed this? Do they accept, especially if it's not, for me, but maybe I'm wrong, I don't see it very fair if it's just some dogs, because we know that the eye can be, we know that some dogs looks bigger and they are lighter than other ones. So yeah, I want to know how.
Yeah, that's actually very, very, very interesting what you were saying, because what we talk about a lot here is that although one of the distinctive features of the Chihuahua is it's a small size, right? The importance of that feature is actually in comparison with other breeds, not with other Chihuahuas, right? So size in this does not indicate weight, and we have seen some, you know, little dogs weigh heavy, some large ones very light, right? And that's actually the exhibitors saw that it's because we had dogs that they were disqualified, and I don't know how it works in the other countries, but here for a dog to be, I would say, that disqualification that will remove the dog from a breeding program, they have to be disqualified 3 times.
Okay.
Okay, I don't know how it works in other countries.
Maybe in some country they have specific rules, but
yeah, here it has to be 3 times. So because it's definitely something depending on the dog, right, that you may work on that. But many people actually, I mean, members there, they really appreciated the judges to take the courage to do that, not disregarding some dogs just because of what they think maybe over 6 pounds, because that's the AKC standard, right? It's maximum 6 pounds, which
6
is about
pounds
2
is
kilos.
2.7.
7, yes.
2.7 kilos. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And it's small,
it's
right?
Quite a bit.
Smaller
It's quite
than
a bit
us.
less than the FCI. Yeah.
Yes,
Quite.
and it's and for the American, Chihuahua breeders, that's definitely something put in place to protect the breed. They don't want this breed to go over 6 pounds. And a judge that would, if they have a question, we also recommend that we encourage our judges. If you have a question, instead of dismiss a dog that is has good quality because you think it's heavier, call the scale on that dog, and then if you want to use it, that dog should be your selection. And I don't know if I just going back a little bit when we were talking about cup, and it, like what Allison said, the AKC will the Chihuahua Club of America will also see that part as part of substance, and it's of course saying compact, not exceeding 6 pounds, right? And the body should have that feel of substance with moderate, chestness and good depth of brisket. But again, for that, underline, not to be, slender as an Italian Greyhound, not as full-bodied as in a pug, for example. That's how they say it.
Okay, thank you very much. It was very interesting. There is an important point, and it's the tail. The Kennel Club, the FCI, the Australian one, mentioned the flat tail, but I know that some people do not understand this flat tail properly, because they understand, okay, it must be flat on the back, but by flat tail, it's really the beginning of the tail. I mean, it's not a rat tail, round circle. It's very flat and furry. I would like to ask Tony if this kind of flat and furry tail is something still easy to find in UK, and do you see a difference between long coat and smooth?
Okay, with regards to tails and flat, I can see where this derived from, and the old in this standard and the meaning. I think it is exactly as you described it. Right? It's more the flat underneath rather than actually having a flat tail. And we have to be very careful from, at the end of the day, a tail's a tail. It's a function. And what is interesting, and I've observed this over a number of years, that particularly in the UK, between the two coats, smooth coats invariably in the ring had, without a doubt, better set tails and better shaped tails than long coats, and many beautiful long coat champions indeed had a flat tail. And it was almost at one point of time, and a very famous breeder, I sat with her once, and she, she didn't have long coat. I won't mention her name, but she's a renowned breeder, and said, that really, if these long coat people should actually realize that the standard is the same. It's just the same tail, but it's got fur on it, as opposed. And I think that now, whether again it's because of the intercoat breeding that's been allowed, I've actually seen it in general in the UK a greater improvement. I think the tail set and the way in which the tail is held is actually probably rather more important than either being flat or furry. But I certainly don't think, I think it's all about balance. A fine rat tail on any dog will throw the balance completely out. If it's beautifully constructed, a beautiful shape with a beautiful body and a thin rat tail, then it's actually going to throw it completely, out. So it's about, I think it's about the balance going forward. But it's an interesting one, and certainly something of which I think we all like to see that it's held in a sickle shape in an ideal world. But it's something that, from my own perspective, I can't get too too het up about it one way or the other. There are probably a few more things that we need to concentrate on than that.
Francesco, you want to say something about tails?
Yeah, well, I hate, honestly, I hate this carriage, this tails carriage on the back of the dogs, much more than to check. I would like that we could check a bit more the carriage of tail, and especially in long coats, because they can hide with coat horrible tails in many times. Of course, for me, we are much more careful to select the tails in smooths because they are more visible, and we forget to look at the tails also as a breeders in long coat, because with the coat you can hide a bit the carriage of the tail. I think the outline, in my opinion, is quite important. I like to see a nice Chihuahua with a nice neck, straight top line, lovely tail set and tail carriage. This is what for me is important to see. This is the first impression as a breeder. For me, if I don't see these three future, is a pet.
Okay, Joao, is it less common or not to find especially in smooth coat, the flat tail in USA? And have you seen a difference when judging in Europe or not?
Okay, so for the US, although our standard does not mention the set of the tail, right? But since the back is level, and then so it's breeders and the club should, the Chihuahua tail should not appear, low set, because of that. So our illustrated standard and other documents will not mention any ideal carriage, right? The carriage may be, up, out, in a loop over the back. And it's very important that these carriages, the perspective, I would say, from the AKC standard also is the perception of the body length. Okay, when it's the more
it
low
could change
set,
all the
will change that that profile that Francesco said. So a preferred tail is, I would say, then a tail carried over the back in a loose, I would say, semi-circle fashion, but not stepping flat against the back, right? We haven't seen.
Yeah.
Okay.
For me, it's fine. For example, sorry if I interrupt you. If it's turning a little bit on side, that doesn't disturb too much. But when it's really flat like this on the back or curly like this, no, that is.
Yes. Especially
I just see the tail. Oh, go on.
Excuse me. No, go ahead. Don't worry.
I just see the tail as the icing on the cake. When you have a good quality dog, if it has that perfect tail, it is just the icing on the cake. And you always think if you've got a beautiful dog with a flat tail or a slight, over curled tail, you think, well, what a shame. And you probably wouldn't look at that dog for future down the track. But it is just the icing on the cake if they're set right and they're the beautiful shape and they're the lovely, especially on the smooth coats, a lovely thick furry tail.
And
that's right.
And the long coat could have a perfect tail carriage and shape, even if he has coat furniture, because so many often I hear people saying, it's because of the coat, but why this one is having a correct coat, a current tail carriage? He has the same coat. So it exists. But it's true that on long coats, people, breeders, and even judges are less attentive on it. I don't know how to say.
That's word. Yep.
Yeah, you asked me about seeing that in different countries.
Yes.
And I would say that would be in a long coat, like what Francesco said, it's really nice, that profile, that silhouette, with the neck and the tail. we have lost a lot of that and especially in long coats more than in smooth coats. And I wouldn't say this is an issue only in America, but I would say in other
Everywhere.
places too, from Europe to Asia. Those flat tails
Right.
on the long coats, that you can work with hair, right? And it's not only like Francesco said, it's the weight of the hair, right? It's how the set and the carriage.
Now let's speak about something I really like. It's one of my favorite words in the standard. It's the word lean. And it's a word that is written in every standard. In UK, in Australia, in the FCI, in America. Lean lips, lean cheeks. And I would like us to talk about the muzzle and how do you understand it? How you will describe it with your words? And I will ask Francesco first. How will you describe the muzzle? How do you understand this short muzzle? Because I don't want to speak before you, but I think that some people understand the word short in a too extreme and wrong way. So yes, Francesco, how do you will describe by your words this muzzle?
Honestly, I want to say immediately that I prefer when they write in some standard mode. I think in all other standards except FCI is written moderately short, which has much more sense for me, especially nowadays, because we are living not in the best era, because we are attacked from this animalist and everything. Short is a moderately short muzzle, but doesn't, and you have to use the eye here, because for me has to have open nostrils, which is very important. And we know already that the Chihuahuas sometimes this, how you call in English, they make this rumors. Yes. So we should try to avoid as much as possible, because more the muzzle is short, and more they do this. And for me, as not to change the nice and beautiful expression, the saucy expression that we want to see in this breed. When it's extremely short, then you will find also these lips that are more, how you say, more heavy. And this is a problem in the breed, because and we should remember also that the standards say that the end is slightly pointed. So when it's too short, how it can be slightly pointed? So if we think to this thing, we can already have an idea how short it must be. And of course, when it's too short, then the eyes will be too prominent. And this is another problem, even if nowadays, unfortunately, we find a lot of small eyes in the breed, small eyes and small ears, which personally I hate, because this is also for me a characteristic of the breed. But I think that, so this heavy lips and this square muzzle is typical when the muzzle is too short.
Who wants to interact about muzzles?
I think really.
I agree with. Oh, sorry.
Go on, Alison.
Go to.
Go, Alison.
I agree with what Francesco said, and yes, I like our standard, which just says that it's moderately short, slightly pointed, gives you a little bit more direction as to how it should be. And we should really make an effort to stop this cushioning around the face. It's just Too short, blunt noses aren't attractive, and that is often when you get the problems with dentition and just mouth construction in the first place. So we really need to make an effort. Even over the years that I've been showing, the muzzles have shortened off a little bit more. When I first started, we were told that the muzzle was about a third the length of the head, and now probably it's about a quarter of the length of the head. So in general, it probably is shortening off, and we probably need to keep constantly trying to stop it from shortening anymore, and just keep the moderate length if we can. And the third length, perhaps for some people, isn't as attractive now because they're so used to seeing the very short noses. But it is a bit of a worry. Actually, you know, seen even here in Australia, there's some very short muzzles, but in mostly we haven't got the very short muzzles, but it is a little bit of a worry when you see them from overseas, especially.
Yeah, I think Joe, I think you hit the nail on the head. You mentioned the word lean. It appears quite, it's there. And if you think about it, lean, you know, lean isn't these teddy bear heads, these teddy bear muzzles, which seem to be prolific and people love them, and the pet people think they're absolutely superb. And then obviously people breeding for pets will breed them and they're creeping in. However, you know, I concur with all that's said before, particularly Francesco, that it's about the balance. And the word lean, I think it speaks volumes. I think it's a brilliant word. That lean, I think, identifies is that it is a lean muzzle. It doesn't talk about the length, of course, but it's all in perspective. But generally speaking, long live you know, the correct length, the balanced length, and long live the word lean.
Yeah, and as we said before, the Chihuahua needs time to develop, to mature, and if you already have a short and heavy muzzle when they are puppy juniors, it becomes worse and worse, and it's why some of the juniors we don't see them later. And now it's really something I hope that people, breeders, judges will understand. It's better to give attention or to give better report on the dog show with a dog with slightly too long than too short.
And especially now, especially in this time, because we are under attack of animalists. So we should think really twice as a breeders and as a judges.
Yes.
Don't let this dog that are really kind of small molossi or a kind of Tibetan Spaniel with this heavy lips, too short muzzle to win, because then we will give the opportunity to them to attack the breed. That is in some countries already under attack.
Yeah.
Yes, we in our judges. Oh, sorry, Allison, go ahead.
Sorry. We also have to remember the saucy expression. You can't have a saucy expression with a heavy, cloddy head.
That's
right.
We have a joke that in our seminars that there should be no suggestion of an expression that resembles a pug or a toy Manchester Terrier, right? In Chihuahuas, right? And you know, with discussioning around the face, like said, this was really well said. And what I would like just to add is on preservation, you know, breed standpoint. This is very critical. We have seen these fads of people, you know, the moment that, you know, breeding these very short muzzles, puppies looking like, you know, French bulldogs or other breeds other than Chihuahua. And this is very serious. We have this alert as well that we have to keep our eyes open in regards to everything that happened that may have, you know, external influences on our breed to determine how we should breed. So if we preserve the breed now as breeders, as judges, to prevent that. And I think in many places, you know, I've seen pictures recently of I don't even know if the muzzle would you know, the width would be a finger, you know, so short that it was. And it's very dangerous. And the moderate short, it's also listed on the AKC standard, is lightly pointed, and we need that. And we should you know, strive to look for that and award that.
Yes, thank you so much. So now we are soon at the end of the discussion. We will just have discuss about the front assembly, and we will finish with the code. So the front assembly, in all standards, the front assembly description could be understood as too imprecise, too vague. Maybe because it must be a simple, correct front assembly, but there is no real full description on it. And nowadays it seems even more difficult, how Francesco said at the beginning, to find correct front assembly. So what is a correct front for the Chihuahua?
Can I say something?
Yes.
I think we have two different fronts. One kind of type of front in Europe and one type of front, for example, in America.
But do you think it's
two different problems? In Europe, you can see these pastels that are very weak, and there is some dogs are really with this weak pasterns, and they are almost French in front. In America, you can see straight, very straight front. Even sometimes the feet are a bit inside, which also I don't like, because angulation, we start with the shoulder angulation that sometimes I think in many breeds nowadays there is no balance between front and rear angulation. We find in many breeds straight fronts and over angulated rears, and that of course is affecting also the movement, because we have to remember that Chihuahua has to use his front and has to use the rear. We have to see this kind of lovely reach and drive that the breed should have. So I think we are in both continents in wrong way. In one side, because really we see this movement, front movement, that really you say like this, and in the other side you don't see any use of the front when they move. But so I think this is in my opinion the main point where breeders first and then judges must be concentrated. Breeders, they have to improve, of course, breeding, try to find dogs with good fronts, and judges should penalize, because, okay, I agree that for me, side movement is very important, but also, I think this coming and going should be quite clear in the
But I agree, but in another way, I think that especially in the maybe last 10 years, it seems that cooperation and exchange of bloodlines has been more done. I don't know how to say.
Yeah, but
so yeah, but I think
it is very difficult to correct.
Yeah, but
this kind of faults. I always say that head you can do in 1 or 2 generations. Fault in construction, you can really need 5, 6, 7 generations to correct this fault in constructions. And sometimes we are too much focused on the heads, and then we forget the soundness, which is absolutely important also in the smallest breed in the world, because Chihuahua is a normal breed, must move like all other breeds, must have a sound construction like other breeds, and that this is something that as a judges we excuse too much, and as a breeders we don't take. It's much easier also for the breeder to see the faults in the heads instead the faults of in constructions, and this is a big problem. So anatomy, a breeder must know anatomy. As a judge, a good breeder must be the most strict judge for his own breeding, and must they have to know exactly what is the meaning of a correct anatomy, and this is unfortunately something that, in my opinion, we are a bit far.
Joao, do you want to say something about France?
I was just when Francesco said yes, right. It's but yeah, I know that during this conversation we were talking about kind of a listing, I would say, many problems of the breed globally, right? And of course, front is one of those. Like we mentioned, also low and long, right? That's also an issue. But I agree with Francesco that, you know, agree that in America there are a lot of breeders really dedicating, you know, time and investments, you know, to create to breed Chihuahuas with, you know, good straight, you know, legs, like talking about the front legs, straight legs, but again with strong pasterns. But it's still a work in progress for the shoulders. You're right, and that to have, and our standard here will give this indication for the front assembly that it's a well laid back shoulder, you know, combined with, you know, the forelegs that are set, you know, well under, you know, the body, and this construction will permit, and this is very important, that will permit you know, the reaching front movement comparable to that of many working breeds. That we say that a lot. And it's interesting that in our seminars, we leave head for last, because it's we talk about every single part of the body first, you know, to give the importance. It's not just the dog that will move from you know, the food or the water bowl to the sofa. They should move like, you know, many of working dogs, with the reach and the equal reach and drive, you know, level top line, tail, neck, like we have already discussed. And but to give the importance of the head for less, not that as the head doesn't have an importance, is of course a hallmark of the breed, but the structure is very, very, very important. And I think throughout what I've seen, especially going to a national where you have that huge breed, you know, breed stocking, you know, present, that breeders are really working hard to get better, you know, the front assembly, to have better of a layback shoulders, to have Chihuahuas showing the, you know, the posternum, right? That little bone that we usually don't see, right? It's very, it's straight in there. So it's a work in progress.
Allison, do you want to add something about France?
No, I think it's been very well covered. It's something that we need to really keep forefront and to work hard on, and have them as a more normal type of front than we're having, and a lot of them are incorrectly made at the moment. Yeah.
I want to add, because I'm a bit front phobic, I think. And even I prefer, because when the angulation is correct of the shoulder, the the front is not totally 100% straight. The pattern are little bit turn a little bit out. I prefer this than to see the opposite way, because the opposite way, it is a clear sign that the
shoulder
the
is
front,
straight.
the shoulder is totally straight.
Right. Yeah.
And another thing that I hate, sorry, because this is something that when you don't see any fore chest, dog is totally flat.
Yeah.
Sorry to say, in America is more common than in Europe. It's
Yep.
totally flat, no for chest, nothing, because of course of the front assembly that is wrong.
And
Yeah.
if I can add a final point about the front, sometimes I haven't judged. I have done more training judging than judging by myself. But I have seen many Chihuahua, and now I start to have my hands on more toy breeds. I see some dogs with correct front, but who are shown in a very improper way. So people, because they read in the standard that the head must be a proud carriage, they destroy the correct front movement because the dog cannot walk properly. And some dogs then start to use the leash like leg number 5. They push too much on it and it destroys all the front movement. So it's even something that people have to keep in mind. It's that because of a bad handling or bad training, they can destroy a correct or acceptable front movement.
But also we have to say that even if there are differences between different standards, FCI, English, or American or Australian standard, I think a good Chihuahua has not nationality. So a good Chihuahua is good for American people, is good for European people, for English people, for Australian people. There is not any nationality.
That's true.
So that we have also to say, because yes, there are differences, but more or less a good Chihuahua, when your eyes see something in harmony, in balance, harmony, that is what we have to see. And okay, we can measure, we can weight the Chihuahua, we can do that, we can count, check how long is the muzzle. But if your eye say something and you see this balance, you see this harmony, that Chihuahua you can find wherever.
True. It sounds like a final statement, but I will just ask you before.
It is not the final statement.
No, I know, but
yeah.
it sounds well. I would like just you few minutes more to speak about coats. The description of the coat is quite complete in all standards, and the AKC is the only one to mention grooming to make the lines more clean. I would like to know, all of you, how is the grooming in your country? How do you like to see the Chihuahuas in your ring? What about the quality and quantity in some long coats? So we can start with Tony. How is the grooming in the country, and how do you like to see the Chihuahuas in your ring?
I think the grooming is, and certainly in the UK, is adequate, and basically I don't believe that Chihuahuas should be overdone in any respect, and overcoating is not to be promoted in my view, and a true smooth coat when you actually feel it, it's got that special feeling, and it should be short. I feel that ultimately a lot of people are liking the prolific coat, and that's all very well and hunky-dory, but your hands have got to get right in there and feel that everything's in its right place. So I suppose I might be in a minority that I actually don't necessarily think, I don't necessarily support huge coats in long coat Chihuahuas.
Okay, Allison, how
Here
do
in
you like?
Australia, we don't trim very much. Usually just do the trimming to make them tidy, usually feet and perhaps a little bit on the back of the back pastern just to tidy up a little bit. But yes, with the long coats here, we don't sort of go for the heavy coated ones a lot. They occasionally turn up. I still like to see the outline of the body with the long coat and just have the pluming, you know, the length in the pluming as well, and not too heavy a coat on the body. But it's lovely, I think, with the smooth coats to be able to see the ruffs, you know, the feathering on the neck and the rear feathers. But one thing I hate to see, and I have seen it in Europe, I hate to see the feathers, especially of the smooth coats, cut off their rear ends and their tails. I think it's a sin to trim them like that, and also to shape up long coats. Sometimes you can see them quite clearly cut off to even look like Pomeranians in the rear feathering. So that's just my thoughts. Some people love them, but I just don't like seeing. I've even, when I've judged in Europe, seen the shoulder line actually cut out so that it actually puts a line in the shoulder line that actually isn't there because the shoulders weren't quite correct. So they just cut a shoulder line in, hoping to that I thought that was the shoulder line and couldn't work it out. So yeah, I'm just very anti-trimming. I just like them tidied up.
Okay, Joao, can you give us your?
Yes.
How do you like to see the Chihuahuas in your ring, and how is the grooming in your country?
Okay, so seeing my ring, in regards to grooming, it's definitely when you have a clean dog presented to you.
Yep.
That's I would say
That's
a
bonus.
must, you know. Right. But in regards to trimming, what I can say that it's very common to be done here in America would be, you know, the whiskers, you know, they may trim, but it's not required. It's actually trimming for neatness. It's you know, and it can be in both varieties and should not be anything, you know, radical, right? We also like to say to judges that, you know, both varieties, they have the seasonal shedding periods, right? That they will see difference on code on that, and how to identify that in order to avoid penalize a dog just because it doesn't look the way, especially bitches, right? And we know that we have a disqualification in long coats when it resemble, you know, barrenness of the coat, right? One more thing that it's the feathering, you know, on the feet of the long coat is often trimmed for neatness as well. This is acceptable. And like what Allison said, I think there are out there, and I'm not saying, I would say just in America, but these exaggerations, you know, especially trimming the ears. You know, if you have small ears and then you shave up the hair, you know, off the ears.
You groom inside.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that the ears will be bigger, but will draw the judge's attention to the fact that the ears are small. So that is definitely something that this kind of over grooming that we don't like to see.
Francesco, do you want to say something about the grooming, how it is in your country, and how do you like to see?
Well, I think in our country we groom very naturally, and this is what I like. I don't like to see this that is clear that you have used this how you say, straight scissor on the coat. So you can use this scissor, I don't know in English the correct name, to clean a bit the tail set. But for me has to be as natural as much you can. I really don't like, especially in a long coat.
Yeah,
Many
sometimes.
many long coat, in my opinion, are groomed because they have Spitz coat, which is a big fault that also, in my opinion, should be much more penalized. The correct Chihuahua long coat texture should be close to silky and not like a Pomeranian coat. But many have this, so they use every kind of product. They use this scissors, straight scissor, and for me, I repeat, I like to see a bit of grooming, but has to be natural, that you don't even see that they have used the scissors on the dog. And the exaggeration for me are totally wrong in everything, in grooming, in handling, in everything. Balance is the right word for everything.
But you know about coats, I have seen people with long coats, like I was like, oh, what a nice long coat and what a nice coat quality. And they told me, yeah, but he's a bit out of coat. He's young, he needs to gain more coat. But for me, the coat was totally correct for the age of the dog.
And not to be overcoated.
Yeah, and sometimes they compare. We see some long coat Chihuahua who looks like mini Alaskan Malamute in quality and quantity.
Pomerania with full of undercoat.
Yeah,
undercoat there is, but has not to be only undercoat. And many you find only undercoat, which is for me totally wrong. This is a little bit of undercoat, and then the cover coat is close to be silky.
Yeah, and it's beautiful when you see a slightly difference between the body coat and the ruff on the long coat. And it's sometimes we miss nowadays. I see that dogs that are, it's like one, I don't know how to say, one full carpet. It's not like you can see the difference at the ass, at the ruff, at the ears, at the tail. And for me, you must, even if it's everything is smoothly connected to each other, you must see this difference and to have more on the ruff, more on the tail,
and if the coat is correct in long coat, you will find fringes on the ears because they are really silky, these fringes that almost disappears in many of the long coats. So texture also is an important thing because we see a lot of Pomeranian coats in our long coats.
Yes. So we are at the end of this discussion. I would like, again, because Tony was not there at the beginning, to tell you a big thank you. Honestly, you do not imagine what it means for me to have you. It's like a kid's dream to have all of you. And I already tell it, but I contacted you once and everyone say yes immediately. So I had to convince anyone. So it's like, wow, I'm very touched. And you are all big person in my heart. So thank you so much for accepting it. I hope people had fun and interesting evening with us. Thank you again so much. And I'm so happy, Tony, you finally found a way to join you. Thank you, Aliona, for being the technical assistant. So I would just give you, if you want to say a few words before we close the discussion. So Joao, if you want to start, just to say bye-bye in a few words.
Yes, so thank you very much again for this wonderful experience. I would like to congratulate, you, Joe, and all the International Chihuahua Club team for these initiatives. This is really great, and every club should join. And this is definitely something very important for the preservation for this wonderful breed. I tell to my son, he's 14, and then I tell him, look, what I'm doing right now is because I want for your kids to meet what is a beautiful and healthy Chihuahua. So that's our main goal, to preserve this amazing breed. And I'm so happy to be a part of this team today. So thank you so much for the opportunity. There's no words to describe how much happy I am and honored to be in this panel. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joao. Tony, do you want to say something? Open your microphone. We don't hear you. You have to just wait. I don't know.
Yes, I am.
Yes.
Just to say, so sorry about
not
being able to log in early. It was to do. Let's blame the Kennel Club. It was to do with the security. They wouldn't allow you to access my computer. But anyway, we got there. But no, I've enjoyed this evening. We've learned. As long as everyone learn, however much experience we have in life or whatever breeds, we can learn from each other. And it's wonderful to listen to people's opinions and views on certain things, and also to have respect. And there's just one final thing that I'd like to say to everyone is very Merry Christmas. It's not far away. And thank you very much indeed.
Thank you, Tony. And I really like what you said. I will rewatch it again because my English is not so good and I won't be able to repeat it. But you say something like, it's not since how many years you are into the breed or into things, it's what you do.
That's it.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
It isn't whether it's 20 years or 10. It's what you do with those years.
Yeah.
That's important. And that's the message.
Yeah. Allison?
Well, thank you, Joe and Aliona, for getting this on the road today. I know you had difficulties, but it was just terrific. And thank you for inviting me. I thank you for getting the ICC going. I think it's a great idea to have everyone from around the world. Look at us here. We're the whole total world sort of covered. And I just look forward to a great future for you. And it's great for the future of the breed. And it will be just lovely having the first show next year, and hopefully we can all get there.
Yes, and just to tell everyone, as you can imagine, it's a different timing around the world. So Allison wakes up at 5 o'clock in the morning. I told her she can stay in pajama if she wants. So thank you again, Allison, because I know it's never easy for you to... You have to accept our timetable.
That's okay. That's okay. But I have a beautiful sunset behind, so it's not that time of the day here. It's still the morning.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And Francesco?
Yes, of course. Also, I think that this kind of meeting, talking is very important. And we should really think seriously that if we love the breed and because we all have this common passion, we should share our experience and we should learn how to cooperate between each others, because nobody can do anything alone. Everyone needs somebody else to do something. So we have to change our mind, stop to be jealousies. And if you see a nice dog, wherever you see it, if you don't think about dogs and not about people, if you have to go to use a mail, even if you don't like this person, do it, because I think you do for the breed. And this is the most important thing that we should print in our heads if we really want the good of the breed. And what else? Already Joe said, we will have our first event as International Chihuahua Club next year in Geneva.
Yes, in Geneva.
In Geneva, and then we can start. We can see if we can have maybe a talking all together. We can meet face to face, which is much better than talk by computer. And but also try, please, people that are involved in the breed clubs, try to promote this international Chihuahua club, because we all are passionate people and we don't have any own personal interest in doing these things. We do because we love the Chihuahua.
Yes, yes, exactly. Thank you so much for this last words, Francesco. Thank you so much, everyone, for watching us. I hope you had a great time with us. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, Allison. Thank you, Joao. Thank you, Francesco.
See you soon somewhere, maybe at crafts.
Yes.
Yes, bye.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
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 Bye-bye.
Bye.